Do not attack the humans. They will never let you go. Part 1. The decision to invade. Fleet Commander Azarath stood on the observation deck of the Eternal Glory, flagship of the Krylonian Empire's 7th expansion fleet. The vast emptiness of space stretched before him, interspersed with the twinkling lights of distant stars. His 4 eyes, 2 for normal vision and 2 for tactical analysis, scanned the holographic displays surrounding him. Commander, his second-in-command, Varric, approached with a data crystal, the final intelligence report on the human homeworld. Azarath's scaled hand reached out, grasping the crystal with his 3 long fingers. The Council is certain this time. The last 3 planets we conquered based on their intelligence proved problematic. Varric's skin shifted to a pale blue, indicating confidence. The Galactic Council's reports are conclusive, sir. The humans have achieved rudimentary space travel, but their technology is at least 2 centuries behind ours. They're fractured into hundreds of governing bodies, constantly fighting among themselves. The conquest should be swift and absolute. Azarath inserted the crystal into the command console. Immediately, holographic images of Earth appeared. Blue oceans, green and brown landmasses, white clouds swirling in the atmosphere. Various cities and military installations were highlighted, along with detailed analyses of their defensive capabilities. They haven't even unified their planet, Azarath mused. Divided and primitive. The Council believes their resources are worth the effort. Water, Commander. Vast oceans of liquid water, rare minerals in abundance, and a biological diversity unmatched in the known galaxy. And the humans themselves. The Council believes they would make excellent laborers in the crystalline mines. Azarath nodded slowly. The Krylonian Empire had been expanding for centuries, harvesting resources from conquered worlds to fuel their technological advancements. Planets with abundant water were particularly valuable. The crystalline technology that powered their ships and weapons required precise humidity levels during manufacturing. Prepare the fleet for the final jump, Azarath commanded. We'll arrive at the edge of their solar system in 12 cycles. From there, we'll launch a standard 3-phase conquest, disable their global communications, eliminate military strongholds, then demonstrate overwhelming force over major population centers. Yes, Commander. Glory to the Empire. As Varric departed, the ship's AI announced, Commander, we're being approached by an unidentified vessel. Small, appears damage. No weapons signature detected. Azarath frowned. They were in a relatively empty region of space, far from established trade routes or colonies. Scan it. Could be pirates or refugees. Scan complete. Single life form aboard. Ship design unknown. Not in our database. Curiosity piqued. Azarath ordered, bring it into Docking Bay 3. Full quarantine protocols. I want to know who's traveling alone this far from civilization. When Azarath arrived at the docking bay, his security team had already surrounded the small craft. It was unlike any ship he'd seen before, asymmetrical, with an organic quality to its design, as if grown rather than built. The hatch opened with a hiss of escaping air, and a figure emerged. The alien was tall and slender, with grayish skin hanging loosely from its frame, as if it had once been much larger. One of its arms ended in a mechanical prosthetic, and a breathing apparatus covered half its face. I am Fleet Commander Azarath of the Krylonian Empire. Azarath announced. Identify yourself and state your purpose. The alien's single visible eye, large, black, and weary, fixed on Azarath. Was Supreme Admiral Corthan of the Nalfori Collective. Its voice was raspy, mechanical, translated through a device on its throat. Azarath's secondary eyes widened slightly. The Nalfori Collective had been a formidable civilization from the outer reaches of the galaxy. The Collective still exists, though we've had little contact with them in recent decades. Corthan made a sound that might have been a bitter laugh. The Collective exists, yes, but greatly diminished. That is why I am here. Our long-range scanners detected your fleet on a trajectory toward the Sol system. And this concerns you because I commanded the last fleet that attempted to conquer Earth. A tense silence filled the docking bay. Azarath signaled his security team to stand down but remain alert. The Council's intelligence makes no mention of a Nalthori incursion in that sector. No, they wouldn't, Corthan said. We erased all records. Too shameful. Too painful. The alien's breathing became labored, and it leaned against the hull of its ship. I've traveled for years, tracking fleet movements, waiting for this moment, for someone else to make the same mistake we did. Azarath's curiosity overcame his caution. Come, you'll share your story in more comfortable surroundings. In Azarath's private chambers, Corthan sat hunched in a chair, sipping a universal nutrient solution through a tube connected to its breathing apparatus. 40 of your years ago, Corthan began, the collective was at its height. 300 worlds, 1,000 vessels in our fleet. We discovered Earth much as you did, a primitive, divided world rich in resources. And you attacked. We did more than attack. We came with absolute certainty of victory. Our technology was centuries beyond theirs. They had barely reached their moon. Their weapons were chemical explosives and basic projectiles. We had antimatter cannons and gravitational disruptors. Azarath leaned forward, yet you failed. Corthan's eye closed momentarily, as if in pain. We didn't just fail, Commander. We were annihilated. Impossible. No primitive species cold. You don't understand what they are. Corthan interrupted, sudden intensity in its voice. We studied them, but we didn't understand them. They're not like us, not like any species in the galaxy. Explain. Most spacefaring civilizations evolved toward cooperation, peace, unity. It's almost universal. Once a species reaches a certain technological threshold, they outgrow their violent tendencies or destroy themselves. Azarath nodded. This was basic sinosociology. Humans are different, Corthan continued. They evolved as predators, persistence hunters who would chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion, and they brought that mindset to war. Many species evolved from predators. Not like this. When we attacked, we expected submission after the first show of force. Instead, they adapted with terrifying speed. They reverse-engineered our technology from crashed vessels. They developed computer viruses that could infiltrate our supposedly impenetrable systems. They turned our own weapons against us. Corthan's mechanical hand tightened, crushing the container it held. But that wasn't the worst of it. The worst was their relentlessness. We retreated after losing half our fleet, expecting the conflict to end. But they followed us. They built ships from our salvage technology and hunted us across the stars. Surely you could outrun primitive vessels. For a time. But they never stopped. Never. They found our colonies, our outposts. Not to conquer, simply to destroy anything connected to us. 100 of their years could pass, and still, they would hunt the descendants of those who attacked them. Azarath sat back, skeptical. You expect me to believe that a primitive species defeated one of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. I expect you to learn from our mistake, Corthan said. Turn your fleet around. Find another world. The humans have a saying that has haunted me for decades. Don't poke the bear. We didn't understand what it meant until it was too late. The Council has decreed that Earth will be conquered. Azarath stated flatly. I appreciate your warning. But the Krylonian Empire is not the Nalthori Collective. Our technology, our strategies. They don't care about your technology or your strategies. Corthan hissed, rising suddenly. They care about survival. And they will do anything, sacrifice anything, to ensure it. You think them primitive because they fight among themselves. That internal conflict has bred warriors unlike any in the galaxy. They've spent their entire history perfecting the art of war against themselves, and now you want to give them a common enemy. The alien's outburst triggered a coughing fit, and Corthan collapsed back into the chair. You should rest, Azarath said, rising. We'll provide medical attention and safe passage to any neutral system once our mission is complete. Corthan's eye locked onto Azarath's. I'm not going anywhere. I want to witness it. Perhaps watching another empire fall will give me some measure of peace. Azarath left the chambers, disturbed but resolute. The ramblings of a defeated commander, he told himself. The collective had obviously made tactical errors that the Empire would not repeat. 3 days later, the fleet emerged at the edge of the Sol system. Azarath ordered long-range scans of Earth and its orbital defenses. Commander, the sensor officer reported, confusion in her voice. We're detecting unusual energy signatures around the planet. Define unusual. They appear to be shielding technology, advanced shielding technology, and there are structures orbiting the planet that don't match the Council's intelligence. Azarath frowned. Show me. The holographic display revealed dozens of orbital stations surrounding Earth, along with what appeared to be defensive arrays. None of this matched the intelligence reports. Could the reports be outdated? Azarath asked Varric. The Council's latest intelligence was gathered only 30 cycles ago. Varric replied, his skin shifting to a worry purple. There's no way they could have built all this in that time. A cold feeling settled in Azarath's gut. Unless they knew we were coming. Commander, the communications officer called out. We're receiving a transmission from Earth. They're hailing us on our own encrypted frequency. The observation deck fell silent. Their encrypted frequencies were known only to the Empire. Put it through, Azarath ordered. The holographic display changed to show a human female, her skin dark, her hair pulled back tightly. She wore what appeared to be a military uniform. This is Admiral Chen of the United Earth Defense Force, she said calmly. You have entered restricted space with a military fleet. State your intentions. Azarath stepped forward, maintaining his composure despite his shock. I am Fleet Commander Azarath of the Krylonian Empire. We come seeking resources and territory. Your world has been claimed by the Empire. Surrender, and your people will be treated fairly under Imperial law. Admiral Chen's expression didn't change. Commander Azarath, we've been aware of your approach for some time. We're also familiar with the Krylonian Empire's methods of conquest. Let me be clear, Earth is not defenseless, and we are not unprepared. Azarath felt a flicker of uncertainty. Your defenses are impressive but insufficient. The Empire has conquered worlds far more advanced than yours. Perhaps, Chen replied. But you should know that 43 years ago, another empire made the same mistake. The Nalfori collective thought us primitive and divided. They learned otherwise. Azarath's blood ran cold. You knew Corthan would find us. Admiral Corthan has been useful in helping us identify potential threats. He wasn't difficult to convince. His people learned the hard way what happens when you attack Earth. The pieces fell into place in Azarath's mind. This had been a trap from the beginning. The Council's intelligence, the convenient discovery of Earth, all manipulated to lure another fleet into human space. You have one opportunity to leave peacefully, Chen continued. Turn your fleet around now, and we'll consider this a diplomatic misunderstanding. Pride and duty warred with caution in Azarath's mind. The Empire had never retreated, never shown weakness. But Corthan's warning echoed in his thoughts. Before he could respond, Varric rushed to his side. Commander, we're detecting energy spikes from Earth's moon and Mars. They're powering weapons. Raise shields. Prepare for. The deck shuddered violently beneath them. Warning alarms blared throughout the ship. Multiple impacts. The tactical officer shouted. Shields at 60%. 3 destroyer-class vessels critically damaged. How? Azarath demanded. What kind of weapons are they using? Unknown, sir. They appear to be some form of gravitational weapon, but far more advanced than our own. On the holographic display, Admiral Chen remained calm. That was a demonstration, Commander. Those were our smallest defensive platforms. You have 30 seconds to begin retreat procedures before we target your flagship. Azarath's mind raced. The humans had somehow developed technology comparable to, or even beyond, the Empire's, and they had been waiting, preparing. All vessels, defensive formation, he ordered. Prepare main cannons for planetary bombardment. If they could strike quickly, overwhelm the human defenses with sheer firepower. Commander, the sensor officer interrupted, panic in her voice. We're detecting hundreds of small craft launching from Earth and its orbital stations. The tactical display showed swarms of vessels, small and fast, heading toward the fleet. They're not on an attack vector, the tactical officer observed. They're surrounding us. Suddenly, the eternal glory shuddered again, more violently than before. The lights flickered, and several consoles exploded in showers of sparks. What was that? Azarath demanded. Unknown, sir. No projectile impact detected, but power systems are failing throughout the ship. Similar reports coming in from across the fleet. The holographic display with Admiral Chen flickered but remained active. We warned you, Commander. Those small craft just deployed electromagnetic pulse weapons specifically calibrated to your ship's energy signatures. Your fleet is now effectively disabled. How could you possibly know our energy signatures? Azarath asked, desperation creeping into his voice. Plasma bolts sizzled past his head, scorching the wall. The station's alarm began blaring as he sprinted down the corridor toward the docking bays. Stop him, came a shout behind him. 500,000 credits for his capture. The promise of rewards turned every bystander into a potential enemy. A Trandoshian dockworker lunged for him, but Azarath sidestepped and sent him sprawling with a precise strike to the throat. His ship, a small, nondescript transport vessel bought with the last of his Imperial credits, was docked in Bay 17. If he could reach it before the station locked down, more plasma fire erupted behind him. The humans were gaining. They always gained eventually. Azarath slammed his hand on the bay door controls, diving through as soon as the opening was wide enough. He hit the emergency close button from the inside, buying precious seconds. His ship's engines were already warming up. He programmed them to begin startup procedures remotely when he sent an emergency signal from his communicator. He threw himself into the pilot's seat and bypassed the standard departure protocols, forcing the docking clamps to release. The ship lurched free, just as the bay door burst open again. Through the viewport, Azarath saw one of the humans aiming a launcher at his vessel. The ship shuddered as something attached to its hull. A tracker. No time to remove it now. He gunned the engines to maximum, weaving through the station's superstructure to avoid defensive fire before diving into the relative safety of open space. Once clear, he plotted a course for the system's edge where he could jump to hyperspace. His hands trembled slightly over the controls. Another narrow escape. But for how long could he keep running? Hours later, drifting in the void between star systems, Azarath finally relaxed enough to assess his situation. He'd found and disabled the tracker, then performed a series of random jumps to throw off pursuit. The ship's systems showed no signs of following vessels. He opened a secure compartment beneath the flight deck and retrieved a small data crystal, identical to the one that had contained the original intelligence report on Earth. But this crystal held different information, everything he had managed to gather about human technology, tactics, and psychology during his brief captivity. The Empire had abandoned him, but this information might still save his people from his fate, if he could reach someone willing to listen. His communications array pinged, indicating an incoming transmission on an old Imperial frequency. Azarath hesitated, suspecting a trap, but desperation won out. Identify yourself, he demanded after activating the receiver. Fleet Commander Azarath, came a familiar voice. This is Supreme Counselor Thravix of the Imperial High Command. Azarath's hearts raced. Thravix was one of the 12 most powerful individuals in the Empire. Verification code required. After Thravix provided the correct authentication, Azarath allowed himself a moment of hope. "Counselor, I've been trying to contact the Empire for 3 years. Officially, the Empire disavowed your actions to appease the humans and the Galactic Council," Thravix replied. "Unofficially, we've been monitoring your situation. Your survival against human pursuit is impressive. I need extraction. I have critical intelligence. That's precisely why I'm contacting you. Our analysts have been studying the human problem extensively. Your first-hand experience could be invaluable. Then send a cruiser, a diplomatic vessel, anything." "It's not that simple," Thravix said, his tone grave. "The humans have agents throughout the sector. Any obvious Imperial presence would alert them. So I'm abandoned." Azarath couldn't keep the bitterness from his voice. "Not abandoned. Redirected. We've arranged transport for you, but not back to Imperial space. It's too risky." "Then where?" "The Argus Cluster. We've established a secret research facility there, dedicated to studying human technology and developing countermeasures. You'll be safe there, and your knowledge will serve the Empire." It wasn't the triumphant return Azarath had imagined, but it was better than running for the rest of his life. "Send the coordinates." "Already done." "And Azarath, be careful. The facility must remain secret. The humans cannot know of its existence." The transmission ended, and Azarath studied the coordinates. The Argus cluster was remote, uninhabited, the perfect place to hide a secret facility. The journey would take weeks, even with hyperspace jumps, but for the first time in years, he had a destination instead of just another temporary hiding place. As his ship accelerated toward the first jump point, Azarath failed to notice the tiny anomaly in the communication log, a microsecond delay in the transmission that might have indicated it had been routed through another system first. Azarath sank into a chair, the weight of his failure crushing down on him. "And now? Now you have a choice," Chen said. "This station will self-destruct in 30 minutes, erasing all evidence of our operation here. You can leave in your ship. We won't pursue you any further. Your role in our plans is complete." "Why would you let me go?" "Because you'll do exactly what Admiral Corthan did. You'll spend the rest of your life warning others about us. You'll become another bogeyman story that keeps aggressive empires away from Earth." Azarath laughed bitterly. "And if I return to the Empire, tell them what you've done. Who would believe you? A disgraced commander, abandoned by his people, claiming incredible conspiracy theories about human infiltrators." Chen shook her head. "Besides, our operative as Thravix will ensure any such claims are immediately discredited." She was right. He had nowhere to go, no one who would listen. "The countdown has started, Commander. I suggest you make your decision." The hologram flickered out, leaving Azarath alone among the dead. 28 minutes later, his ship detached from the doomed station. As he accelerated away, Azarath watched the facility recede in his view screen, then vanish in a brilliant flash as its reactor went critical. He set a course for the nearest independent trading hub, his mind numb with the implications of what he had learned. The humans weren't just defending their world. They were methodically identifying and neutralizing threats across the galaxy, infiltrating governments, redirecting policies, all without firing a shot, all without declaring war. It was a new kind of conquest, invisible, patient, absolute. 6 months later, in another dingy bar on another forgotten station, Azarath sat across from a Thraxian fleet captain. The captain's mandibles clicked nervously as he outlined his government's plans for expanding into a previously unexplored sector, a sector suspiciously close to human space. "Let me tell you a story," Azarath interrupted, his voice rough from too much drink and too many retellings. "A story about the most dangerous species in the galaxy." The Thraxian leaned forward, intrigued despite himself. "They don't look dangerous," Azarath continued. "They don't have claws or natural armor. They're not particularly strong or fast, but they have something far more dangerous: memory, and patience, and a willingness to do whatever it takes to survive. The humans, the captain whispered, mandible stilling. Azarath nodded slowly. Do not attack the humans, Captain. They will never let you go. They will chase you across stars and time itself. And when they catch you, and they will catch you, you'll realize too late that you were never the hunter. You were always the prey. As he spoke, Azarath noticed a human woman at the bar, watching him with mild interest. Their eyes met briefly, and she raised her glass in a subtle salute before turning away. He couldn't be certain, but he thought he recognized her, one of the guards from the Earth detention facility where he'd been held 3 years ago. They were still watching, always watching, and he would keep telling his story, becoming the warning the humans wanted him to be. Because he had seen what happens to those who don't heed warnings. Because he had learned what the Nalthori had learned. Do not attack the humans. They will never let you go.